Bloodwolf Arts Studio. Unleash the artist within.
Welcome to Bloodwolf Arts Studio, and I'm your host, Mr. Moonlight. And today we're going to be talking about the next poem in my series titled When Building a Stack. So, this poem was one of my very first ones that had a lot of humor aspect to it, where I was having a lot of fun with the rhyming. I was throwing in a lot of stuff in there. It really has a lot of reflective energy of Dr. Seuss, really. Um, but it's a poem that's all about kind of making fun of what happens when you are doing too many things. Um, and it's written in this style of just throwing random things in here, building a stack, building a stack, building a stack. And really, it was a reflection of a lot of the overwhelm I was feeling at the time. I was juggling a lot of schoolwork at the time, I remember, and it was a lot. I remember I would spend about 12 hours a day to do my schoolwork. I was going to an online virtual high school at the time. And in one of my other videos, I was looking back and I mistakenly had said that there was a high school on the farm. There wasn't a high school. And but there was a private school. It was called KLB Private School. It was a hint or a nod to a place in the LDS doctrine Kolob. Just had the two O's taken out of it, but it was called KLB Private School. It was started by my grandfather, and it was right there on the farm, and all the children went to school there. And it only went up to grade school, like it went up to like grade 8. And at the time, then when I was going through high school, I remember that it seemed like, if I'm remembering accurately, there was nobody else in my family who had actually finished high school at the time. And I was doing this online virtual high school that had just started. The internet was still a relatively new thing at the time. I mean, it had been around for at least 10 years, but an online high school was still something that was still kind of new. And this school I was in was actually building the high school while the children were in it. Um, but all that to say, I remember feeling a lot of overwhelm. Um, I ended up spending 6 years in high school actually because I was struggling to balance my work and my school. I felt so much pressure from my family, especially my dad, to go to work full time and also stay on top of going to school full time. And I remember feeling like, man, nobody has balanced this kind of work before because they want me to do full time work while I'm doing full time school, and none of them have experienced this before, so they don't understand the kind of work it takes. And I ended up tanking a lot of my classes. There was a point I hit a burnout because I was taking on way too many things. And I remember it was like my first meltdown I ever had. And I went in my mom's room and I was like, this is just too much. And my mom just said, you know what, forget about work. She said, just focus on your education. She understood the value of the education. She didn't really get one either. And because she was married at 16 and started having children like almost immediately as soon as she turned 16. And she just said to focus on my education and just work whenever I felt like I had the energy to. And that's what I ended up doing. And so I got back into high school. And from that point on, I basically never had less than an A in all my classes. And I like to tell this story that there was one of my classes that I had done so well in and I had so much extra credit in. I literally missed the finals of my course and I still passed with over 100% of my grade. And so I remember measuring how much time it took for me to maintain that level of academic integrity. And it was like 12 hours a day. And an online high school, then you have to manage your own time because the schoolwork's there and they have like once or twice a week online sessions where you would be in the classroom with an actual teacher, and the rest of the time you was just doing all your own work and completely self-driven. So all of the schoolwork I was doing was totally self-driven, and it took so much time and effort. And so I graduated high school over a course of 6 years. And when I got things back on track, I actually went back and retook some classes to get my grades up so they would be higher, or so that they wouldn't be an F, and so I could boost my GPA. Ultimately, I remember at this time juggling a lot, because that's what I was juggling. I was juggling. It's not only the 12 hours for my schoolwork, it was like still building up my statement, because that's super important. Making sure I'm still getting up there. I remember the goal was to have, I think it was have $20,000 saved up in my order bank account by the time I was 18. Like, that's the goal in the community. So the goal was to have $20,000 saved up by the time you're 18, so that you were for sure 100% guaranteed as a guy to be able to support a family and, be able to be well off financially to get married right away as soon as possible. It's just a lot of preparation to get married, because that is valued so high. And so, it's on top of this 12 hours of schoolwork and all my church duties, Sunday school homework, regular attendance, and all the extracurricular activities involved therein, on top of going to work whenever I could. So I remember feeling just so overburdened, and that's not even talking about anything I felt like I wanted to do on the side that I actually wanted to do at this point, like writing a poem. And so this ended up coming out in this poem, When Building a Stack. There's even a point in the poem where I say, I don't even remember, essentially it's like, I don't even remember why I'm building the stack, or why I put that on my stack. Like, I didn't even remember why I put it there. And ultimately in the poem, it's like the guy ends up, which is me, and he ends up like breaking my back. And the poem ended up being like this humorous kind of tale of what happens when you carry too much, and then other people can look to me and be like, man, I don't want to be like that guy who carried way too damn much and killed himself. And this was also something that reflected how much time I spent thinking about things, because I know a lot of people spend a lot of time in their thoughts. I just remember most of my entire life, that's just how it's always been, like being up in my thoughts. And I remember just being so in my head all the time, just managing all these things, thinking about everything. How am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to do this? And just wondering how I'm supposed to make all this work and put together. And to this point where I'm like, man, at this point, I'm just going to end up being a tale of a tragedy of someone who carried too damn much, and they look to him and be like, man, I don't want to be like that guy. He killed himself, wondering how the hell he got it all done. And so that's a little bit about what went into this poem and what was going on around the time when I wrote it. And it was my attempt to make some humor out of it, like, this is just my life, and I'm overthinking all of this, and how funny is this that I'm probably going to kill myself doing this. So this poem is actually also one of the very few that I already have on this YouTube channel. I made it years ago. If you look up When Building a Stack, I had a lot of fun building that one years ago. It has sound effects, music that I built myself. So go ahead and check that out. So thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go check out my Facebook and like that for all the updates I have posted and the things I post there. And also go check out my TikTok, Mr. Moonlight Rhyme, where I will be posting the reading of this poem. And also just check out where I do have this one posted already on my YouTube channel. And I'll also have a link over there in the corner. My book is also available on Amazon.com. Just go check it out. My collection of poetry, The Seasons of Life, Volume 1, Autumn, as well as Volume 2, Winter. And I'll post a link to that in the description. Alternatively, you can also go to my website, which is also in the description, and you can find another link to it there. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the other side.